Sikhs from around the world by showcasing their professions, passions, and perspectives. I'm your host, Mandheer Singh, aka the Net Nihung. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sameep Singh, welcome to the Net Nihung's arena.
Well, welcome. Excited about it. Yeah. What at last.
Yeah. We've been talking, every time I see you, I keep thinking, you should come on the podcast. And finally, we got it to work out.
No, thank you. I'm excited and look forward for it.
Yeah. So I asked you on particularly because of your involvement with this Fly Amritsar Initiative. And if it hadn't been for us talking, I would really be completely unaware of the importance of something like this. But why don't you introduce yourself, give your background, where you came from, when you came to America, and then eventually how you got involved with this initiative. And then I'll ask you a few questions here and there, but kind of really get into why is this initiative so important? Because a lot of people don't understand why it's important that we have these direct flights to Amritsar. But anyway, let me start with you. Just go ahead, give a little background, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, thank you. You already mentioned Fly Amritsar. So everybody, I doubt any Sikh in the world, whether they are born anywhere in the world, they're all familiar with the word Amritsar. And we do our daily ardas as well. And we say Sri Amritsar as well, Jida Darshan Ishnan. So that's something I will say all the people who are born abroad as well, and everybody wants to go to Amritsar as well. So it's simple, Fly Amritsar, and it currently I am leading, you can say, the project. It's an initiative so that we can have more direct flights, as you mentioned. And before I go into the background, I should just say that the initiative, you can say non-political, non-profit, and it's just an initiative to get flights. And people just think, oh, how can you get flights? What do you mean? Who are you to get flights? So that's what we're going to talk about today. But if I go to the background now, I grew up in Amritsar, close to Harmandir Sahib, Darbar Sahib, around 10 to 15 minutes walk.
Oh, wow.
And entire life till my bachelor's, I did my engineering over there as well in electronics and communication. And one place which I heard a lot during growing up was Dayton, Ohio. And that's where you guys were born. And
yeah, that's where we grew up. Yeah.
So that's where you grew up. And after finishing my undergrad, bachelor's in technology, I flew to Dayton. That's the only two cities. I haven't seen a lot of Punjab at that time. I just went to get the visa in Delhi and then came over here because my cousin, now Lieutenant Colonel Tejdeep Singh Ratan, Dr. Ratan or Dr.
Yes.
Tejdeep,
Yep.
He was here. He came here in 96, finished his bachelor's here too. And my uncle, my Mamaji, was here as a professor at Wright State.
Right.
So
yep.
That was the only school I applied to. And so came from Amritsar directly here a month earlier than the school was going to start.
Okay.
So, and I came and then I still remember Tejdeep took me to your house first.
Yeah.
Well, I first went to the Gurdwara, but then he called uncle, your dad. And we heard a lot about, obviously my uncle was here, but we heard a lot about Dulai as well. So, so I went to your home, had a lunch there, and obviously I went to my uncle's house too. But yeah, there I saw you guys, and it wasn't a very, I will say, you first time you're excited, you just fly. But when you land,
it's a culture
where
shock.
am I? So you are in a shock. And I was crying for a week, and I told my cousin I want to go back, ask a couple of people, how can I get deported? Because parents are like, no, you can't come back. So that was my initial journey. But anyway, things then started moving up. So finished my master's here and started PhD as well, but didn't finish it later on. But anyway, so that was my journey. But I was very encouraged, first of all, to see when I heard about all of you guys who grew up over here. And the first thing I did after a year, I went back home was to learn Kirtan.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so there was some things were going on. Obviously, I felt I was close to Mandheer Sahib, but didn't see that much importance as well. So,
Oh, interesting.
but came to birthplace of aviation. That's Dayton.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but I didn't go to the museum until I think my parents came for my graduation in 2002. So
Yeah.
for almost 2 years, I haven't seen the museum here either. So I wasn't a very guy who was looking very much into aviation or aircrafts or anything. So even though now we hear Fly Amritsar all the time. So that's the journey there. But I will say that before I came here, my father, he was very much into this, you can say, service for the community. He founded an organization called, co-founded Amritsar Vikas Manch. You can say Amritsar Development Forum.
Okay.
So to all the listeners, especially who are born here, I know how much we are connected with Punjab. Farmers' agitation, anything.
Yeah,
I mean, 84 happened, anything. We are all connected. And we are more affected over here than we are in Punjab.
Right.
So in the 90s, you know how the movement and how Punjab went through all that phase. Amritsar was in a very bad condition. You can say there were no projects coming. And you talk about like good roads and other things, but you need projects as well. You need big things like medical college,
Right.
and IITs, Indian Institute of Technologies, and big, I mean, not industry, but yes, these are the things which get you tourism and all that stuff. So they had main 10 aims, like objectives. And one was of the objectives was to get the Amritsar into the world network map.
Okay.
Was the Amritsar airport. It was called the Raja Sansi airport because it's in the village Raja Sansi. And it's about...
Yeah, wait, and just to clarify, because I didn't really know this, but there's been an airport in Amritsar since the early 1930s or something. Like after World War I, we had a airport there, but it was mostly for like landing strip for like VIP people coming from England, you know, with the British and everything. But it's been there that long, almost 100 years, 90 years now.
Yes.
So.
Yes, it was during the British time. They had the airport there and the strip was there. And obviously it was one India. There wasn't any Pakistan at that time,
Right.
or they call as the border now. And but the real, I think, flights wise, it started when during the 80s, late 70s, 80s, Sant Bindrawale, he actually, one of that part was the Taram Yudh Morcha. So that was one of the aim was to get flights.
I see.
And one of the first flight which started from Amritsar was to Birmingham through Moscow.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was before the 84.
Yeah,
and that's a very good point.
That was with Air India.
Yes.
Yeah.
Air India started that flight and it operated till 82, 83.
Right.
Then all that situation changed and they stopped it at that time.
Yeah, because the region became unstable, right? We had conflict. We know everybody knows about Operation Blue Star and what happened in 84, and that created destabilization in the area. So now it made it virtually impossible to, you know, be able to utilize the airport commercially.
Yes, and Raja Sansi is the village there. It's about I will say 15 miles from the main city. And but you're right, it was before the British, before the Indian independence. The airport has been there for a long time.
Yeah.
And the airstrip was there, but it was a small building they had. So one of the thing, as I said, my father was that there was another person, he was very much into that, liked aeroplanes and wanted the flights to start from Amritsar. And he was our neighbor, he's our neighbor as well. And what I saw, my dad was going to meet different people, not for just the airport, but for other projects as well. And so, as I mentioned, my brother, who is now Lieutenant Colonel at Tejdeep, he came to you guys, met you guys. So it was, he went to drop him in 97 or 98 to Delhi.
Yeah.
And because he was visiting us, and there were no flights from Amritsar at that time, and maybe just one flight used to go. And then it was the Prime Minister Inder Kumar Gujral, during after I think Narasimha Rao, there was a government where they had like minority government, you can say, coalition. And his government lasted only 6 months, and they was like saying it's going to drop. But anyway, they went to Delhi to see somehow they can meet him because he was from Punjab. Mr. Gujral was a Punjabi, and he was from Jalandhar.
Okay.
So what happened was everybody's like, okay, there may be an airport in Jalandhar. He's going to give some projects. Obviously, if whoever political prime minister, like for example, Prime Minister Modi right now is from Gujarat, and you all hear all the, I think Gujarat is now pretty popular everywhere now, the Ahmedabad city. But anyway, so they went to meet him, but they were able to meet the civil aviation minister.
Okay.
And if I'm not wrong, I think it was CM Ibrahim or somebody. But anyway, they had a piece of paper, I think I still have here, and there was a logo with Harmandir Sahib, like just the sketch on it.
Yeah.
And they told him, and he's like, so this is, I'm telling Viji, we talk about, okay, Delhi, a lot of negativity, and I'm not here promoting positivity or anything, but my dad still tells me, and he was with a couple of other guys, and he gets emotional. He said, the first thing that person said, you came from Sri Amritsar Sahib. And he took the paper and did this. Because he saw the logo over there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of respect.
Yeah.
And it's just that they took the time and wanted to go and went to meet with them. And he said, what do you guys are here for? So they told them, these are the some of the demands we have. But one thing is, you are the aviation minister. We want Amritsar Airport to be upgraded. New terminal, new strip. We want flights to start.
Right.
So he mentioned that definitely you will get the flights, and I will do whatever we can, even if our government doesn't exist in few months or whatever it is. So that's where it happened. And Mr. Gujral announced a science city in Jalandhar and Kapurthala, and then he upgraded the airport and announced that the Amritsar airport will get this much money and it will be upgraded. And then the government fell, and in late 90s, like Vajpayee government came.
Yeah, even you mentioned like going to Delhi for the flight. It's still far. It's far. So even if you fly to Delhi and then you have to drive to Amritsar, what are you talking about? Like 6 hour, 5 hour drive? Yeah.
Now they have Shatabdi, which is a pretty good train. I remember at that time there used to be a train called Superfast.
Yeah.
But timing was that the flights used to be like late night from Delhi, and you have to go into these sleeper and trains, and it will take 10 to 12 hours to go there.
Gosh.
The roads were not that good. So train was the main thing to take. And that's what we are talking now. It used to take, like, if you go, imagine, from America, you'll tell, we are at the New Delhi.
Right.
And, Dad, we're going to Amritsar or Punjab, anywhere. How long? It's another 12 to 16 hours.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, that's crazy. I don't want to go. Yeah. And so it is far, and but buses and everywhere. So they went there and came back, and luckily they gave the money. But still, you know how the system is there.
Still, the airport in Amritsar, it was only domestic. Was it only, or was it having like some? Because you mentioned that they did do flights to Birmingham, but it was mostly that traffic went through Delhi airport and then went to other places like Punjab.
It was called hub and spoke flights. So hub is Delhi, and spoke is Amritsar. So they will take you to Delhi, and then the good thing was they will have the airfare same, Air India, whether you come to Delhi or whether you go to Amritsar. So they started that operation later on than in 2000. And when I came about 2002, the first time I went again in 2003, I went to Amritsar because there is a connecting flight to Amritsar. It was a small building. But anyway, things picked up. There was sometimes my father told me that they used to go to airport very regularly with his friend Mandheer Singh. And he was son of Jathedar Akal Takht, Yani Kirpal Singh. But anyway,
okay.
so he was our neighbor, and they told my dad, actually it was Singh Sahib Jathedar Akal Takht. He told my dad that you guys should form this association so that you can get some of the projects. And this was one of the blessing that the airport at that time then got upgraded by Mr. Gujral. And then later on, Mr. Vajpayee, when he came, and here is VG where the politics come.
Yeah.
Recently, a year ago, I think we started with my background, but now we are getting pretty much into the history. And this is where I want everybody to know and see where the problems are. When we talk about this farmers edition, all the other morchas and everywhere, we talk about some of our people, jade sade apne bande ne, our own people, jadon, oh, ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕਿ it's always the problems with Delhi. Okay. So there was recently a retired IS officer, Mr. Chiranjeev Singh, and he interviewed on a channel, and he gave a story that in the late 90s, he was a joint secretary civil aviation in Karnataka, Bangalore. He was in there, and he said that time the proposal came that they're going to upgrade Amritsar Airport. It's a gateway of India. And he also proposed. My dad is telling me it's the same timing when their letter came, because the letter got marked. So it's very important. This is a social media age, I know. Yeah. But at that time, if the letter gets marked by a minister or a prime minister, it gets all the way up.
It's official. Yeah. Because now it's going to,
So it's official. Writing on Facebook may not be official now these days still.
Right.
So the system is that my dad, I used to, growing up, and when I was doing engineering, I started typing those letters for him in Punjabi. And every evening he used to type, and I will say, Dad, he will keep the cuttings and everything of newspapers so that he have a reference. So that's the kind of hard work he did. So I did get a lot of, we can say, he was my main role model, seeing him doing all this.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly hard work. Like today, we just cut and paste everything on our computer, save this website, do this, and then it's easy. But back then, to actually get the resources, put it together, then sort it, the
typewriters,
typing everything. It's a lot of work. And then also at the same time, you're getting the inside look at because now you're involved typing. You're also getting the whole inside scoop and understanding and getting deep.
Yeah, so it was basically the seva. I mean, I know we do seva at Gurdwara, seva at different. We have all the Khalsa Aid, and everybody's doing sevas different. So this was one of the seva he was doing. He's a teacher. He was a PhD in Punjabi literature. He is. So that encouraged me. But when I came here, I wasn't much involved. I used to read his news coming in the paper, and he will write the news. He will go on bicycle and scooter to give the news to the news reporters. But that was the main thing. So I came here, did my studies, got married, and it was not until 2014 or 15 that we were talking about flights. The Amritsar Airport, if you go back again, as you mentioned, 2003, then the flights really started. Again, coming back, you mentioned it used to be Delhi, but it used to be a small building, but the runway got extended to 12,000 feet, which is one of the biggest runway now after New Delhi, is the Amritsar Airport runway. And
what is the significance of the size of the runway? I mean, how does that help? You can cycle more airplanes through? Is that?
Well, you have bigger aircrafts. So bigger aircrafts to take off. And the Boeing 747 was the biggest one at that time.
Yeah.
And Air India had Boeing 747. So you need a longer runway for that to land and take off. And the strength of the runway as well.
Oh, right.
So that was the main thing. The terminal building was very small, but still the operation started. And it became the fastest growing airport because Air India started Amritsar, Birmingham in 2004, again, direct. It used to come from Delhi, stop at Amritsar, and then go to Birmingham. So one of the biggest diaspora is in Birmingham. So we know that. Then they extended that flight to Toronto. So it was Amritsar, Birmingham, Toronto in 2004. October 2004.
So from Toronto through Birmingham to Amritsar.
Yes, because Air India, it's called Fifth Freedom. Air India could sell the tickets on Birmingham-Toronto route as well.
I
So
see. Okay.
that's called the different bilateral, which we're going to talk later on as well.
Yeah.
That we would talk about, oh, you can start the flight. Why can't you go this? But it's not that like that. So Air India used to have a hub in London, but they also were selling Birmingham, Toronto tickets as well.
I see.
Separately. So passengers will take off in Birmingham and then they can go take off, board and then go buy a ticket on Birmingham, Amritsar separately. So that was a very good flight. And it started as 3 days, then became 7 days. And then Singapore Airlines at that time was the topmost airline, and they came as well to Amritsar in 2004, 2005. And so those flights starting going, and then similarly there were some flights to like Muscat in Middle East, because a lot of our people from Punjab are there over in Middle East as well.
Okay, so real quick before we go any further, can you define for my audience what is an IS officer and what is the importance there?
Yeah, it's called Indian Administrative Services. So all the administration, like the commissioners and deputy commissioner, all the big officers during the British time, I guess, they are all go through an exam and they become an IS officers there, so that they become secretaries at the government level or the state government level.
Okay.
So that's the officer, and he was actually posted there in, as I mentioned, in Karnataka.
Yeah.
And he got this letter of the proposal because Amritsar VG is the gateway of India.
Okay.
And according to him, he said he sent the proposal as well. And he then talked with somebody in the state government, whichever government was there. He didn't say whether it was Congress, Akali, whoever. It was late 90s, and people can guess. But he said that somebody in Chandigarh, in the government, in the Punjab government, they said, कि वो अमृतसर रहने दो, चंडीगढ़ बना दो. Means leave Amritsar, make the airport in Chandigarh.
Right.
Because
so
Mohali
local politics are getting involved now.
The state, but the main point is they all come to get blessings here.
Yes.
But somebody was, and I will say that we are currently facing a little bit like that situation as well, as I got into it, and what my experience have been so far. So he interviewed a year ago, last year, and that was an eye opener as well, because he said they didn't say that make both places.
Right.
They said Amritsar रहने दो, Chandigarh बना दो, Mohali.
Forget Amritsar. Build it in Chandigarh.
Build in Chandigarh over there. So, but he said, obviously, Amritsar has special significance. You fly over Amritsar and then go to Delhi or wherever. So it's a gateway of India from the west. So that was his saying as well. But
wait. So hang on, clarify that for a second. So when you're flying to Delhi, you're actually flying over Amritsar, going to Delhi, and then people were taking train or bus or car back. So that was also a huge, inefficient way of traveling. You're flying right over the spot where you're going to go. So it makes sense that you could have a flight directly to Amritsar.
Yeah, I mean, it has to make a commercial sense as well, but viability. But really, when mostly it was at that time I was reading, Delhi wasn't the most advanced airport. They made this new terminal in 2010 late, but it was an old terminal, but still it was the main airport. But all the flights, just imagine you're going there and just land over here, and then you have to come back to Punjab, 12 hours, 14 hours. Even when I came to the US, I saw in the map, and Delhi, Amritsar was right there. So, but anyway, it became the fastest airport during that time until 2009 and 10. A lot of flights started. Jet Airways, which was a private airline at that time. Air India was a government airline. And then Jet Airways also started London flight. But, in 2008, the recession came up. US and everything went into recession. So the flights got canceled. The new airport in Delhi, the Terminal T3, they built it. And what Air India decided, they said, all our flights are going to go via Delhi, even from Hyderabad or other big places, only Delhi and Mumbai. So then what they started doing, VG, was they will fly from Amritsar to Delhi, and then Delhi to Birmingham. So which was Delhi, Amritsar. Actually, Birmingham, they stopped the flight in 2008. I want to make a correction. And they switched it to London, Heathrow in 2008. So, but then they started flying Amritsar, Delhi, Delhi, London, and Amritsar, Delhi, Delhi, Toronto direct. They started. So it was a 777. But anyway, the flight stopped in 2011 from Delhi as well, because most of the people will get other options when they fly from Delhi. But
I see.
In 2013, they started the Birmingham flight again, but it was Amritsar, Delhi, Birmingham. The aircraft will stay the same.
Yeah.
People will sit in the aircraft and then go from Delhi to Birmingham. It's like you want to get you to the nose, but now you're going to get to your nose like that. And from the behind.
It's like so, No, I mean, the thing is, like, all these complications and all this, it can be very frustrating. We have there's almost like 2 million Sikhs. I mean, Punjabi people is probably a lot more outside of India, but there's about 2 million some Sikhs outside of India, maybe more now. And from what I had seen online, I saw something like 37% of the traffic is to Punjab, like more than a third.
Yes. So Delhi airport, it has grown a lot. And as I was sharing, after 20, you're right, it's 35 to 40% according to a survey done. I think it was in the 2008 or 9.
Yeah.
So now you know how many of our people have gone to Canada and Australia. So
right. And just to think that much traffic, I'm sure there's somebody sitting there going, we should keep all this traffic going to our airport.
Yeah. So I remember my dad, not basically the other Mandheer Singh ji, he used to write to British Airways, and the letters come to our home. We have received your letter by mail.
Yeah.
And they used to write all these Emirates, whoever they could find. And they will say, so I was like here, and up till 2014, I started working here in an aerospace company. Again, I somehow got into aerospace. I was doing controls engineering, but got into aerospace, and I worked for Goodrich Aerospace, which used to make brakes and wheels. Again, no interest yet in the airport or travel agency or anything.
Yeah. No,
but
you're going to end up where you're destined to end up. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I wanted to go back, and I ended up in Dayton. You guys left Dayton in 2000.
Yeah.
I think your dad left in 2001, late 2000. And then, but I got some really good stories to hear about all you guys. But then I'm like, brakes and wheels, my company made. I used to be a brake control engineer, how the aircraft stops, and there are algorithms there when you apply the brake.
Yeah.
So the anti-skid control so that it doesn't skid off the runway. And so that's what I was working on. Got an opportunity to work on 787 Dreamliner.
Oh,
with the electric brake. So Dreamliner is the first all electric aircraft.
Oh, wow.
So I was working on it, and in 2014, 2015, the flights, my dad is struggling. He started staying with me longer over here, 6 months, 8 months. My wife was doing residency. And so then I'm like, Dad, what is going on? You are working so hard. What is the reason? And it was this one person, my dad was getting messages on, before WhatsApp, there was another app, I forgot now, from V. And there was this guy, his name was Michael. He's very active on social media in Amritsar.
Yeah.
But I'm like, Michael is Christian. But anyway, something triggered me. And he was writing all about Amritsar. And my dad told me he's a young boy, and he works airport. He wants Amritsar. Anyway, he was very excited. I'm like, okay, he's a Christian, and I am here. What am I doing for Amritsar or my community right now? Obviously, brother were involved. Tejdi went to the army, and I was doing some things after 9/11 for the community. We did a lot of exhibitions at Wright State. I think we were the first ones in a university. We did about Sikh exhibition, tied turbans in 2003. And then now you see turbans getting tied on Times Square and everywhere. So that just got me into it a little bit. And I started reading about it. How does really, where the traffic is going.
Right.
And seeing my dad writing articles, he was a writer, he published many books. So I used to write articles on SikhNet and other newspapers of my activities over here. So it's my shauq hai, so I like doing that. And so then VG, I am like, why are the flights not starting? There must be some reason.
Yeah.
So there was this Chandigarh airport came up, Mohali. They said, Badal government, new international airport. And my dad's team, everybody's like, why they don't paying attention to Amritsar? Because I don't want to get into politics, but obviously I keep hearing it's the land over there. The value goes up. It's the hotels or whatever it is. It's very much people know about the politics there. And they were like, why are they all into Mohali, Chandigarh? And then they upgraded the Chandigarh airport. It's a defense airport. Amritsar is not a Air Force airport. Chandigarh was a defense. It's one of the biggest defense airport in India.
I see. Okay.
So they said it's going to be international now. They made a new terminal, which is on the Punjab side, and something is on the Haryana side. And it's a CHIAL, Chandigarh International Airport Limited. They made a limited joint venture between Punjab, Haryana, and Airport Authority of India. And they started promoting it. And they went to court that the flights are not starting. And then they found out they don't even have immigration customs there, and they call it international airport. But anyway, somehow
it's all marketing.
It's all marketing. And then I'm like, why can't they do Amritsar?
Yeah.
So then I'm not a lawyer or something. Then I downloaded from online the petition they filed. It's a Mohali Industry Association. They filed a petition in court. And I'm like, how can High Court intervene and tell airlines to start the flights?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. It's the commercial viability again. Am I right? So then I read the petition and I said, we're going to go to the court as well. Because the reason was Amritsar was a government-run airport. It's a government airport, Airport Authority of India. And Air India is also government. It's taxpayers' money.
Right. Okay.
And why would they be discriminating? And then we went to the court. Then I started collecting the data from 2003 to 2013, but you can't really find out how many people are flying or driving by road from Delhi.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
So I'm like, what is all this? But there are some softwares. There were some data available, and I collected
kind
it.
of thing. Yeah.
Started making some slides, and we went to the court. My dad's association, which is Amritsar Vikas Manch there. And I will tell to the audience, when all the visitors from abroad used to visit Amritsar, it was in a bad situation in 2000. There was a lot of like animal dairies, dairy farming. Dairy.
Right.
So even around Golden Temple, Darbar Sahib complex, it was all these animals like buffaloes all around with cow. It was very pathetic. Sewage closed, rains. So it was Amritsar Vikas Manch, my dad's organization, that read the municipal act. According to the municipal act, they can't be inside the walled city. Amritsar is a walled city. Maharaj Ranjit Singh, there are 5 gates. There are sarovars as well. I mean, Pan Sarovar, but there are gates in there. So my dad said we can go to High Court as well, Punjab and Haryana High Court in Chandigarh. That's where I really got involved in 2016. 3 months I read that. I will come home from job. And I started preparing this petition by reading the wordings, because going to a lawyer, you have to get money and all that stuff. But anyway, it somehow made progress. And then I have a friend in Victoria, British Columbia, and he was Tejdeep's, my brother's class fellow from back home in Amritsar, and he was involved with my dad a lot. He was involved with the United Sikhs and other Ananddeep Singh Tillo.
Okay.
So I just happened to talk to him, and I said, you know what? It has to be something different we have to do. I mean, there were all these projects, obviously Sikh. There are a lot of organizations doing things here. And I said, we need to do something different. I need a name. I can't go like Amritsar Vikas Manch.
Right. You need to
know what is Vikas Manch is. And what is all this? And we need to get the people, the diaspora, people talking about it. It's Amritsar. We talk about that in the Ardas every day.
Yeah.
And what is it? And I said, I have read these things and I want to reach out to airlines. I've read the technical points, but I need a name. He's very good in English. My vocabulary is not that good, to be honest with everybody here, to the listeners.
Whatever. Your
I have to
English
make
is
some words up.
so great. It's fine. It's totally fine.
And he suggested some name, and he's like, Fly Amritsar Initiative.
Yeah.
And I said, initiative, in Punjabi, it's called Uprala. There is a word called Muhim. Muhim is a campaign.
Okay.
But it was Fly Amritsar Initiative.
Yeah.
I really liked it. And
and just to be clear, this is a volunteer organization too.
yes.
Like I don't want people to get the impression that you're pushing all of this because you guys are somehow making money at this and you have some financial benefit here. This is really a volunteer thing that you're doing because you're seeing the importance and the logic of, this is something that I didn't realize how logical it seemed that this should be the airport in Amritsar. So, because of that, and because when you think about like people that live in Canada, California and Vancouver, there's a lot of people there that they don't speak English and they don't speak Hindi. They're Punjabi people. And for them to have to fly to Delhi and then figure out how they're going to get to Amritsar, and you're saying like they're flying in the middle of the night, what about the ladies that are traveling, and how comfortable would they feel?
And they also, if they go by road, they go through Haryana. And in 2018, there was a Jat Andolan there. There's all this violence there. People were raped at that time. And that's another important thing. But
and it's not like here in America where if I get on a bus at the airport, the bus is going to drive and maybe they'll stop to go bathroom or something, and get some food or something, but they'll just keep driving where they have to go. In India, there's no telling in the middle of the night who's driving where and who's paid somebody to stop here or go there or pick this up or drop that off. Or you have no telling what could happen in that situation.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. Going on the highway roads, you can't stop at a restroom. You can stop. There are a lot of tabe over there.
Yeah.
Haryana, they are making a lot of money at that time too. And so when I started VG, there was a lot of negativity, first of all, abroad. Everybody
negativity how? Like negativity against you?
Negativity that's saying it's the Taba people, it's the lobbying over there, Delhi lobby, the private Delhi airport. They don't want Punjab to be successful.
I see.
It's the Delhi. So, but I gave you an example here, okay? I'm not here talking in favor of Delhi, but it's an IS officer I told you, Chiranjeev Singh. He's an Amrit. I think so. He told about the 90s, late 90s.
Yeah.
Who said not to make somebody from Punjab.
Yeah.
And now you put up another airport in Chandigarh where you haven't done anything lot. They say, the flights are going to start by Delhi. Delhi ne shuru karni hai.
Yeah.
Central government da kaam hai. It's the role of the central government to start the flights. Yeah, maybe. But what is your role? Your role should be tourism, promote the flights.
So instead of focusing on all the, call it conspiracy theories, that why it's not happening, you started focusing on what are the plus points of Punjab? What are the plus points of Amritsar?
Yes. I kept hearing, I will go to Canada, call somebody. Sometimes I go to camps and somehow I just happened, not camps, but a lot of Kirtan smagams. And I met a couple of people 4 or 5 years ago at that time, and my kids, because and they were like, Delhi ne hon nahi dena, eh nahi hon. I'm like, okay, if you came to the US, you have all these big businesses, maybe gas stations and all that. If you can work hard, you want to grow your business. So, Walmart is there, it's the biggest one, but it doesn't mean that other businesses are not growing. So you have to see and try for it. We can't just sit that. Sade guruon ne, jo bhi jinni marji sawa lakh se ek, I'm giving a big example, but
that's not the right attitude, you're saying.
That's not the right attitude.
That's not the Chardi Kala attitude. That's not the Khalsa attitude. You know, if we're determined, we can make it happen.
Yeah. And it's not that you will just go social media. We have to go through a way which is...
there has to be a plan.
There has to be a plan. There has to be a system. Which is system, I told you, my dad writes letters.
Yeah. Yep.
It takes 10 years for something.
Yeah.
But maybe the ladder is there going up.
Yep.
And reach the top.
So when you got this brand, Fly Amritsar brand, and you knew how you wanted to reach out. So what were the next things that kind of really got the attention? Because I remember around this time, 2016. So I remember you were talking to me about it, and it was the first I'd ever heard of any of this. And I was like, oh, okay, sounds interesting, but sounds complicated, especially for people like me trying to understand. But I remember you talking about that every time I would meet you, it seemed like there was this momentum going and things were happening. And then I don't know, something happened and maybe things got quiet, maybe COVID, I don't know, things got quiet for a while. And then all of a sudden it seems like it's picking up again.
Yeah, one thing, VG, I made a part of my life. Got married 2005 late, but my son was born 2007. I will go to Amritsar every year. Even every year, December or March, we will go. Yeah. And whether we take a flight from Delhi to Amritsar, but luckily 2010, Qatar Airways started. So you can go Doha, Amritsar. My parents come from there, but I made it a reason that every year I have to go. I mean, I know you guys, everybody is born abroad. They don't go there regularly. But we still, like, I do feel like I'm not very enthusiastic about going myself. I've been there. I mean, when we were younger, we were there. I have great memories. I find it difficult to travel anywhere anymore, but I also want my kids to see and experience everything, right? So I have to figure out what is the easiest way for someone like me to do this. Yes. So a lot of people don't know, like you and I'm experiencing that right now too. So I said, Guru Ramdas Pacha, there is something I'm starting. And then I got a small team. I said, Anand, my dad had the experience, but then I read something about the air agreements between two countries, how the flight starts. And it's not that just I go to Emirates and they can just start a flight to Amritsar. No, there is something called bilateral air service agreements.
I see.
So my dad will say, write a letter to the minister, Emirates no permission deo, give permission to Emirates to fly, give permission to Etihad, give permission to, they want to fly, because we read in the newspaper somewhere that they want to fly to Amritsar.
Yeah.
So I'm Dad, why can't they fly? So it's called the air agreements. And in air agreements, India hasn't listed Amritsar for Emirates to come to Amritsar.
Oh, I see.
So that's what our people don't know. And then in 2017, when I went to the court, Virji, there was a meeting which court said to be held with the airlines. The court appointed a mediator or some other person from the lawyer council to reach out to airlines and conduct a meeting asking why they are not doing the flights, call all the airlines. So obviously Air India, Jet Airways, they all came. And that intermediate person, I reached out and they said they had a list of airline contacts. Okay. So here is somebody sitting in Dayton, Ohio. And so my family was in Toledo, which is about 2.5 hours from here. We moved there. So I will come weekdays, couple of days here. Yeah. And I started making calls to these guys, airlines. And I made a small presentation with a letter. And I will call. And one of the call I remember was to Air Asia. Air Asia is a big airline from Kuala Lumpur, low cost. You have to even pay for the water or whatever. So I called few people. They wouldn't get it. They're like, you're calling me from US. What do you need? You are a travel agent?
So why are you so interested in this?
So they wouldn't, but somehow maybe they saw my number from America and maybe they will pick it up and they wouldn't get it. So then they will say, okay, send us a letter, see what is going on. So I made a presentation. So one thing I started, aviation was picking up in India in 2015. So there is a big airline, Indigo. That's the biggest airline in India now. And then Vistara and few other airlines came up. They started some domestic flights from Amritsar. So I started doing this monthly. The Airport Authority of India issues some data that how much traffic was last year and this year. Okay. So I started reading all that, collected all the previous data, and I started writing that Amritsar traffic grows 40%, 30%. So then I'm starting Fly Amritsar Initiative. My friend Anant is like, okay, we need some, not the president or something, like we need something different. So, we heard the Gurdwaras, there is Pradhan and Sakatar and Secretary. Yeah. And Anant is like, no, we're different. So the good word these days is the conveners. We are the convener.
Yeah.
So to all the audience, whoever maybe even on my page, whoever is going to listen to this, that's how the word came up. I became the global convener. So I am the global convener, and I also am a member of Amritsar Vikas Manch, which is Amritsar Development Forum, you can call it.
Yeah.
So then the newspapers, people, I really appreciate them in Punjab because that's the print media. And they knew my dad as well. And I sometimes cry myself. I called this guy and I said, I've sent you, like my first experience. He was a Hindi newspaper person. And he told me my dad's stories from the 90s. He said, your dad will come to us in the evening on scooter, giving us news handwritten sometimes and typed. And he said, we are so happy that you are following your whatever that thing, and this is the service. So the newspaper will flash, one news flashed in the front page of Tribune, English Tribune, which is read a lot.
Yeah.
Amritsar traffic grows and the convener. So that's how people started talking. And the court case was going on. Newspapers were covering Birmingham, Amritsar Vikas Manch. So there was a lot of hype created at that time. So the good thing was Amritsar member parliament, either he's a Congress person, then there was a BJP person who was a Rajya Sabha MP. The Indian civil aviation minister at that time was Mr. Jayant Sinha.
Yeah.
His wife, I heard, is a Sindhi, and they are very much dedicated to Harmandir Sahib, Darbar Sahib.
They have respect, right? Okay.
They have high respect. And so the Birmingham flight started in 2018 directly. So the one flight we were talking about, Amritsar, Delhi, Birmingham, they rerouted it, Delhi, Amritsar, Birmingham, 3 days a week.
Yeah.
So while I was doing it, we happened to meet the first turban Sikh MP, Mr. Tanmanjit Singh Tesi. Yeah. So Tesi Paji, I call him Paji as well, Tesi Paji. He went to Amritsar in 2017, and he also said, I want flights from Amritsar. I'm like, oh, there it is. Guru Sahib is doing.
Right. You know what? And effectively what you did, and this is something that comes up in business. This is something that comes up, people that are talking about life coaching and how you get ahead in your life and how you do positive change, even with like non-charity type work. You become undeniable. Becoming undeniable means that you put yourself in a position where other people can't ignore you anymore. Then that's essentially what you did, right? Like you kind of put this pressure from all around and built it up so that people had to say, oh, wow, look, the news is printing, traffic is up this much. You were kind of even going a little viral. You were going, I know you were showing up on a lot of news and stuff like that.
Yeah, it didn't start until late 2018. Initially, it was in the newspapers.
Yeah.
And then my dad said, somebody asked, can you send me a picture of yours? I wasn't a guy. I was a guy in the back. There's no pictures.
But people can
read Sameep Singh Gumtala. They will think I'm in Amritsar. They will. So then some people started calling me with the issues. I gave my number. Amritsar Hawaii Adda issue hai. This is the issue going on. I said, I am in America. Okay. So then they will say, our luggage came open, this and that.
Yeah.
And there was so much negativity, and there is a problem with the Punjabi people as well. They're very emotional. And once if the flight gets late, cancel, you know how in America is. The American Airlines will cancel the flight at the last moment. People will just simply go home, rebook. They won't start like Murdabad and So over there, it's like breaking mirrors and all that. And sometimes they get really crazy. And then, but anyway, I was talking about Air Asia. This Air Asia person, I called, and his name is Mr. Suresh Nair. And I'm still thankful to him. He then said, Sameep, I've been to Amritsar. He was with different airlines. And I said, Air Asia said in 2009, Mr. Tony Fernandez was the CEO, that I will give this gift to Malaysians. Malaysia has one of the biggest Sikh population as well.
Yeah.
And the Kuala Lumpur to Amritsar, there will be a flight. And what I studied, Virji, was I was talking about the air service agreements.
Yeah.
Amritsar is listed only for few countries. Only airlines from those countries can start a direct flight to Amritsar. which is like Moscow, UK, Malaysia, Singapore. Luckily, they had Malaysia, Singapore, unlimited flights they can start. But from UK, they can start. No Middle Eastern carriers, UAE, Oman, no airline of those countries is listed in the air agreements. Amritsar is not listed in their air agreements. This opening up of India came up in 2009 when Dr. Mandheer Singh government signed these agreements with many countries where they can start the flights from India. You know why? Because their countries are in the middle. So earlier they were only allowed to come to Delhi. In 2009, the minister over there gave them 12 airports to Emirates. And there is not just going there, there is a limit or number of passengers you can carry in a week.
Okay.
Just for example,
what would be the purpose of that though?
Yeah, the purpose is that two countries have bilateral agreements. Bilateral means I cannot let your country's airline start unlimited flights to India, because what will happen? If you start unlimited flights, what happens to your airlines?
Oh, I see. Okay.
So the geographic location of the Middle East was very beneficial. Earlier, Emirates was only flying to Delhi like 2 flights a day, like only 600 some passengers. But they opened up, India opened up, and they gave them 12 airports. Qatar Airways got the bilaterals from Amritsar in 2010 or something, but they are allowed to carry only 1,269 passengers a week, one way, Virji. So back and forth, it's about 2,600. So that's why they fly one aircraft, which is only 180 seats, 180 into 7.
Okay.
So they cannot bring like 7 flights a day.
Yeah.
So it's called they are limited with the bilateral.
Okay.
And my dad wasn't aware about this bilateral agreements.
Yeah.
So
that was the key. That was the key
because sometimes states, the states also lobby.
Yeah.
For example, Kerala has the biggest diaspora in the Middle Eastern countries. And Kerala right now have 4 international airports. But they started one airport, it got saturated. Then they focused on the second one. But I was reading their chief minister sits in Delhi, lobbies with the central government. Let those airlines come over there, put them in the bilateral.
And that's how
I've never read still a Punjab leader or chief minister going to Delhi and saying, give these airlines permission.
Right.
So, but since the Prime Minister Modi came in India, Indian government, they haven't allowed any more airports. So that's where we got stuck. But if at that time my dad would have known, maybe we could have reached Dr. Mandheer Singh government at that time. But I think there is politics as well. Maybe Delhi didn't want it, Amritsar to be given. The reason, when you said what's the reason, it's called aeropolitical, because then Delhi airport traffic gets hit. Because Emirates will fly to Amritsar, those 200 passengers can fly from Delhi.
Yeah.
So these are the political things.
That's the politics behind the scenes.
Yes, there is all the business, because Delhi wants the business.
Yeah.
What am I doing to do the business? My dad's organization was the only one. The others should have come and started some, not revolution, but started some lobbying, something. So those are the main technical things. But anyway, the first thing I did, I'm not going to go India. It's very hard to change the agreements. Let's see which countries are allowed to come to Amritsar.
Yeah.
And that's where AirAsia came up, because they were entrusted in 2009 to fly to Kuala Lumpur. And the reason we took was there is no commercial viability of a direct flight from Amritsar to Australia, because the biggest diaspora going in 2011 was to Australia. And we know if you come Amritsar to Doha, like you have to fly.
Yeah.
You can fly Chicago, Doha, 2-hour layover. You go straight to Amritsar. Immigration, luggage, everything there within 18 hours, 16 hours. And direct flight takes also 15 hours.
Right.
So I reached to AirAsia, the person, he's like, there's already a flight flying to Kuala Lumpur. We can't. They have an aircraft which is 375-seater.
Yeah.
So I told him I will talk to Punjab government. Navjot Sidhu became the tourism minister at that time in 2018. We can try to get some tourism, because Malaysia is a tourist hub. And these airlines, AirAsia used to fly Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Gold Coast, and they had good connections via Kuala Lumpur. And they also flew to Singapore and all these other countries, Thailand, 2 hours, fly. So I said, you will get a lot of transit traffic. And that's where the Indian traffic airlines suffer. That's why they are not giving permission to these Middle Eastern carriers. Because Dubai right now, people fly from Chennai and everywhere. But then Birmingham started, and one day I talked with Suresh. I said, Suresh, I have done Ardas. I was emotional, Vijay. This is the first time I'm sharing in front of the camera. I said, you start, there is Guru Ramdas. I said, this is it's a city of Guru Sahib. It's not just Guru Sahib, it's all the religions. There is Durgyana Mandir there. There is everybody. We have respect for all religions. You just come, the flight will succeed. And then he said, okay, I will take the proposal to my management in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And then it was January 1st week, I got the email in 2018 that our CEO wants to come visit. Can you arrange a meeting with the Punjab government so that we can talk about some incentives? There was one state but I knew Punjab government is not going to give you much. I don't know what they're going to give you.
Yeah.
So I am sitting here in Dayton and he sends me an email. Then now I have to catch Navjot Sidhu. I had at that time met him in 2017, did a press conference that Punjab tourism should do anything because Amritsar is all tourists now. 100,000 people visiting Harmandir Sahib every day.
Yeah.
So here we are, how things moving. And now I can't get hold of Mr. Sidhu. So here I am. I had the proposal. They said they would like to meet and they would like to consider flying. And then what happened was I will stay up at night.
Yeah.
And at that time, family, as I said, was in Toledo. So I found the number for the director and the secretary, Punjab Tourism in Chandigarh.
Wow. Yeah.
So because through dad, I knew some people and somehow there's another uncle, Harjap Singh Aujla. He was actually at Bridgewater, New Jersey.
Okay.
And he moved back to India in Chandigarh. He's now so much senior, but I see the energy in them. My dad is also now above 75 and I see the energy in them. Like Chardi Kala all the time.
Yeah.
And no, we don't give up. 30 years, still, he comes here. My dad is upstairs writing letters. And so I called the director and the secretary. He's like, this number is a US number. Who are you? The same thing.
Yeah.
Then I told him that, okay, I have a proposal for flights and to tourism. He said, text me. So at 1:30, before going to bed around 2:30, I sent him a text message, summary. And then in the morning, I got a call from him. So generally, Virji, you hear people who are here, the system is very bad in India. There is nobody listens. Like there is money, this and no, it wasn't nothing like that. Okay. So there is things which work sometimes.
Yeah.
So
because ultimately human beings are human beings. Even, and if you can connect with somebody on a human level, things can happen and you're proving it.
Yes. And then I told him the summary and he also asked the same thing. You have a travel agency, who you are, your airline. And then I told him, okay, this is where it is. And he said, okay, I will get you time. And then he called me the next day at 11 o'clock. He sent a message, 11 night next day. And he said, I got the time. There'll be a meeting in Amritsar. And the CEO from the airline can come to Amritsar. There's a circuit house, which is a government, and we'll meet there. I told the secretary, can you email? No, you do. Yeah. So I went into a 3-way conference call and sitting in Dayton here. But the thing is, sometimes, I'm getting the Wright brothers. I will tell the audience, the Wright-Patterson Air Force Museum, the Wright brothers were the one flying the aircraft first time.
Yeah, first flight.
First flight, birthplace of aviation, we call it. And it's only 5 minutes, 10 minutes drive from my house.
Yeah.
And I somehow got into flight as well, the Fly Amritsar Initiative happening. So things are moving up and the meeting happened in Amritsar. And then they said they're going to launch the flight. And then Mr. Sidhu was going to be the chief guest in 6 months. And they did some Bhangra and the flight started in August 2018. And I wanted to go, but But that was the first big success.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And the reason, okay, flight shuru ho gayi, what do we Punjab get? Let me share with what Emirates.
Yeah, 'cause that's what I was going to ask you. Like, I think there's a lot of people may not understand. It's not just about the airport too. You also have all the commerce that's associated.
Yes.
There, and so what was the result? What ended up being the benefit?
Yeah. So Emirates airline wants to fly to Amritsar, and they did an economic assessment in 2013.
Yeah.
And they said, if government of India allows us to fly to Amritsar, Mangalore, and there is one more airport, it will bring how many thousands of jobs and $106 million of money. So directly you may be hiring the ground staff,
right?
You hire the manager, but
indirectly
jobs. There is hotel, there is occupancy, there's people flying, taxi, everywhere
Food,
indirectly.
Restaurants, everything.
One flight brings millions, at least I heard 10 million or some $1 million or something.
Yeah.
And then one more thing, when I was doing this Birmingham flight, which was they're flying Amritsar, Delhi to, when you buy a ticket, there is something called a passenger fee in the ticket. Like right now in the US, there is a TSA fee now airlines are charging, which is like $20.
Okay.
Why? Because they are paying now extra security at the airport.
Right.
How does government get? Government puts it to the airlines put it to the consumer.
Yeah.
So when an airline lands in India, lands or take off, there is something called a user domestic fee. Because the airport expense and all that, they have to get it. So I read that Amritsar was a profitable airport in 2008 or 9, but after the flight stopped, it went into loss. So while I was reading this, Delhi airport will charge for landing and takeoff for each passenger 1,700 rupees.
Oh, I see.
So just think this, Viji, 1,700 rupees is not a big amount. Amritsar was 800 rupees, one way only.
Yeah.
So if you get 3 flights a day or 7 flights a week, it's 200 passengers, let's say.
Yeah.
Multiply 200 with 1,000 rupees.
Yeah.
It becomes 200,000 rupees.
Yeah.
200,000
per week. Yeah.
200,000, which is 0.2 million.
Yeah.
On one flight.
Yeah.
But if there are 5 flights a week, it's 1 million rupees.
1 million. Yeah.
1 million rupees, which is about, you don't
have to convert because locally it's creating that locally. So that's significant.
But the airport gets 1 million fee.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, Air India was government. The Amritsar airport is government. Let's say if the airline suffers some loss, but the airport is getting the money, which is a government organization too.
Yeah,
but now that if they make it flight Delhi, Amritsar, Birmingham, that fee will come to Amritsar because the international passengers 800 fee is flying from Amritsar.
Yeah.
So then when I did the math, it came out to be 20-30 million rupees per year revenue extra to the airport. So these are the things which are really, really important for the flights. And then there was another incident after that. In 2019, Indian government started this thing called Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik.
Okay.
The Prime Minister of India wanted every citizen, whether he's a poor person, to be able to fly.
Okay.
And we are reading this, that they are starting some routes where the government will give subsidy.
I see.
So let's say if the route is in a loss, after first 50 seats, the government will give some money if the airline suffers a loss.
Okay.
So all these states applying for these routes with the government because they wanted to start flights.
Yeah.
But I read nowhere about Amritsar. And I read somewhere Chandigarh airport put that in Ude Desh Ka Aam Udan scheme, they called it.
Yeah.
And then one of my another team member, the Yogesh, he's from Amritsar, and there is few people, they said, let's go to Delhi. So they went, there was a member parliament in Hoshiarpur, Mr. Vijay Sampla. He said, come to Delhi, we'll go meet the minister, Mr. Sinha, the one I was talking to.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, tum log Guru ki Nagri se aaye ho.
Yeah.
So I have never met them. This is what I heard. So he said, go to the tourism minister. There are some routes we can start from Amritsar. And one thing we wanted, Veerji, was people go to Amritsar, you go to Patna Sahib in Bihar. Our Takht Sri Patna Sahib, Takht Sri Harmandir Patna Sahib. So the minister said, what do you want? They said, we want the routes under Amritsar. So we gave them 6 routes, like Kolkata, there are a lot of Sikhs there.
Yeah.
So utthe bhi bade ne, Patna Sahib, Jaipur is a tourism place. So they put them those routes in the list. There was some bidding by the airlines, and now the flights are still operating. So we wrote to them and the flights start. I'm not saying that I got it started. It's the Guru Sahib that one wanted to start at that time, and it started.
Yeah, but
you
still,
have to work for
there had to be this kind of organization. There had to be this kind of persistence. You know, that's what it took.
Yes.
And honestly, it's one thing to just think, you know, okay, this is good just because people from that area, it's convenient now. It's a shorter trip, but there's a great significance to making it convenient for Sikhs, panthically. That's how I'm looking at it. Like panthically speaking, for people to be connected with Punjab, for people to be able to visit historically, these barriers need to be reduced as much as possible. The travel needs to be as simple as it can be so that people can visit. They have family or they're visiting for the first time to learn about their ancestors and their history and the significance of all these places. The more barriers that are in place, the longer the travel is, the more intimidating the process is, the less people are going to go. And Punjab, we all know, is struggling in many ways. And providing these kind of economic opportunities, that kind of tourism coming in, that's a significant thing to help Sikhs in general. I mean, it helps all Punjabis, but especially for Sikhs. Because it seems like everything that we want to do, there's always some difficulty in our way, right? And this is just making it easy, making it simple, and reducing those barriers.
Yeah, and then the thing is that one thing we have still missed is the farmers, the agriculture. London, there is perishable cargo, there is baby corn going. And now this is one thing which we haven't done a lot yet. There is a cargo complex at Amritsar. The farmers need to be trained. The Haryana, they are very much trained, and Maharashtra sent a lot of perishable cargo abroad. And we're talking about diversification. And that's where I'm telling a lot of our Sikh friends here, Punjabi friends, that you need to support, we need to find out how we can do it. I know there was a lot of money sent during the donation sent during the farmers' agitation, but the people have no right now vision regarding it. The reason I'm saying
these things are interconnected, essentially, is what you're saying. That when you increase the flights and you increase the economy in Amritsar, you're providing opportunity that the farmers in Punjab can also be organized and systematically export their goods similarly to how other people are doing. But if you don't have that increase in the traffic flow, you're not going to have that need or demand the same way. And then the farmers continue to suffer under the current circumstances.
Yes, and cargo flights can be operated. And the reason I tell all the people here as well, the experience I'm seeing, some of the airlines told us that people sometimes take cheaper flights, Chinese airlines from Vancouver, that they go to Delhi. And can you guarantee us they will fly to Amritsar? That I said they will, but now the more and more I learn, there is so much negativity. Sometimes I get a call saying the tickets are $200 more, the Qatar Airways flights, because they're allowed to operate only one flight.
Yeah.
So now Air Canada started a flight from Toronto to Doha, and then Doha to Amritsar. They have code share with Qatar Airways, Air Canada.
I see.
But the ticket is $200 costly. So if 4 members are going, I get from the people, they say it's $800 more. But Veerji, they don't consider that they're going to take a bus from Delhi,
right?
Give them 10,000 rupees, which is 200 Canadian dollars as well.
Yeah.
And then 8 hours they're going to go to
time is worth something too.
Yeah, they say Amritsar is all the way back, like the Majha area, which we call it Amritsar Gurdaspur. Yes, that is on on there and it's very good. But for Jalandhar or somebody, they say, oh, we take a bus. And I tell them, can you support it? They will send thousands of dollars for all these agitation, all the other things. But when it comes to flights and going there, they don't prefer Amritsar.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because they're not understanding that the extra cost and the ticket is still helping.
No, even it's happening. It's helping the money to stay there. Just imagine a taxi guy. They're saying, oh, from Delhi, there are taxi people from Punjab getting it. No, there is Tabas in Haryana getting the money for it.
Right.
So
money is still going places.
Yeah, going in places. And these are the things which we are trying to tell people. Like one of my friend, I visited him recently. Their family was stuck in Ludhiana during the COVID lockdown, and Government of Canada started flights from Amritsar. They paid $3,500 per ticket to come from Amritsar, spent $17,000. But recently, they wanted to send, the parents want to go to, they're like, oh, Delhi, I told Panji, it's only $200 more. Panji's like, it's $500 more for my mom and dad. And I couldn't tell her, maybe I will send this video, she can watch it, but it's going, yes, just let's think that we are going to Amritsar.
Right.
I mean, people write to me that over there, Amritsar, they ask for money. There is not much facilities. I used to go to Amritsar when there was a small building, one room in 2005.
Yeah.
And even 2006, the amount of problems I had, there's a blog I want to write, Veerji, Amritsar to Delhi by air in 24 hours. It took us 24 hours to reach from Amritsar to Delhi in 2004 in December after I got married. It's a whole long story. Yeah. But anyway, it used to be like flight, like we were talking in the start, Amritsar, Delhi. I had a flight after wedding to go, but there was fog in the morning. The flight didn't come from Delhi.
Oh.
People arrived at 12 in the night to take a 3 a.m. flight. The flight got canceled. The people were breaking the glass over there at the airport.
Yeah,
we went home, came back at 7 a.m. They said the flight will come at 9 a.m., but we missed the early morning 5 a.m. flight. So we kept waiting, the flight will come. And at 1 p.m., people have come at 1 a.m. at night from Gurdaspur. Yeah. After 12 hours, they said the flight is cancelled. Some people who want to go, they can go by bus to Delhi. We can get you free buses here, 2 buses here.
Oh, boy.
So then bus starts at 3 p.m., goes to Jalandhar, stops, and reaches Delhi at 12 p.m. at night, more than 24 hours.
Yeah.
But next year, I go again to Amritsar, and I go on Air India.
Yeah.
I have a lot of families here in Dayton, the uncle here as well. His wife used to go every year. They said, no Air India, no. People used to Air India, it's the most. So, but still, they want to go to Jalandhar. I said, I am going to go to Air India, whatever happens. Because that's the one who's connecting me to them.
You've got to start using it. Like, if you want Amritsar's facilities to be better, you got to start using them.
Yes.
The money has to start coming in, and then the improvements will come. And then more flights will come, and you'll have more options, and you'll have better flights, and you'll have quicker flights. Right now, I think, what is a direct flight from Toronto to Amritsar? Was it like 12, 13 hours?
No, that's something we should share. Right now, Amritsar is connected. Before COVID as well, now the flights are coming back. You can fly to Doha on Qatar Airways, and they have 140 destinations, 12 destinations in the US and Europe. But Air India connects with Birmingham and Heathrow Airport.
Okay.
Then there is Singapore Airlines, low-cost carrier. Now Scoot Airlines, you go to Amritsar, Singapore, and then you can fly Singapore Airlines network and Scoot network to Australia, West Coast, and everywhere. There is 25 flights a week to Dubai and Sharjah and UAE. So there is flights now to Kuala Lumpur. There are flights via Turkmenistan airline, which has been, since 2000, they have been operating the flight. Turkmenistan is a country which was part of the USSR. And there is Uzbek. So these are the direct flights right now. But Amritsar now has direct flights to Jaipur, Delhi, Pune, a lot of other destinations we are flying. The Toronto thing we talked about, recently in January, we launched, just listening to blogs and interviews, this one person whose family was stuck, Mohit, he contacted me from Vancouver. And he said, so after this, now we filed a petition in the Parliament of Canada. In White House, you can file a petition to take, if these many signatures happen. So Canada has that, where your member parliament, where we call as senators here, can sponsor the petition. And then so we wrote that government should help. Reach out to airline, reach out to Government of India to give us a direct flight from Toronto or Vancouver, because the maximum number of people during repatriation who were stuck were in Punjab.
I see.
And the petition got, in 30 days, all the media supported, Punjabi media in Canada. They were very helpful. And we got about 20,000 signatures. And then MP Brad Wiss, who's a Conservative Party, a member parliament in March, spoke in parliament. MP Sahota now in May also spoke. The Indian Civil Aviation Minister came to meet with Minister Omar Al Gabra, their Minister of Transportation. And the Canadian minister said, we need to increase the flights, and we are getting a big demand for flights to Amritsar.
Yeah.
I think this is the biggest thing I have seen now. The main Indian media covering it, national media, that the Amritsar flights demand raised by the minister during the bilateral talks. So we need to not break the bridges, but build bridges so people get together.
Right. Yeah. You have a goal in mind. You got to figure out how to accomplish your goal. Yes. Don't get sidetracked by distractions.
We are not going to get political. We are completely non-political. Okay, there are issues here. There are issues everywhere.
Yeah.
The talks have to continue. There are other things as well, and they have to continue. You have to reach out to anybody we can to get Punjab back on track. We need to get Punjab. And unfortunately, recently, the Punjab Chief Minister had a meeting, and he said, we want flights from Mohali. And he didn't even mention Amritsar.
He didn't mention it.
So who is doing that?
Right.
There is no bus service, public transportation from Amritsar to other cities. Even local bus was started for 2 weeks from the airport to Harmandir Sahib, but the private bus operators did a strike on the road. They stopped it. So it's the internal. We just can't keep blaming the other third party for it.
Yeah. We have our own issues.
Punjabis need to understand and don't be enemy on our own. So we need to get over this thing and I know we are all emotionally attached. You all seen the farmers protest and everything.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole thing, right? Like understanding that you're talking about, like Guru Sahib established Amritsar and built it with an economy, built it with a network, a system. He founded a city. Like this is not a small thing, right? And in order for it to operate correctly, to take care of the Guru's project, this is the Guru's project. Yes. The Guru started this project of how to make Amritsar successful, right? So we should be looking at how can we help? How do we make sure the business is working correctly? Make sure that there's regulations, but also make sure that people are being held accountable. Like that all works together. And then the more people that are coming in and out, the more people can sell food, they can sell clothes, they can sell, souvenirs and gadgets and trinkets and, all this kind of stuff. And at the same time, people have a easy way to connect with their roots.
Yeah. And you said we found so many friends, MP Tacey in UK. Yeah. There's Preet Kaur Gill. She was the first woman member of parliament. And then I was looking for an organization over there too. Because, if we are working, then I found a Seva Trust UK. There's Mr. Charan Kaval Sekho. Yep. He then got in touch with me. So we all did a parliament event in the UK parliament in a room where we got all the government of India. And so these are the kind of things which we did, and that's something in Canada now. And we are hopeful that if it's very hard to start a direct flight, Virji, commercial viability, the bigger the route, the more gas you have to put in it.
Sure. Yeah.
So the more weight of the aircraft, the more gas you burn.
Sure.
So it's not that it's going to be cheaper flying there. So there has to be cargo, there has to be business class passengers.
Right.
And most of our traffic is visitor friends and relatives. Punjab doesn't have a lot, but now people are very rich now in Canada, so they fly business class. So we reached out to Air Canada now, had meetings with them, and I sometimes just think, in 5 years, COVID delayed us for 2 years, but my target was by 2021, we will have 5 main destinations. Obviously, I told you Kuala Lumpur, then London, Birmingham, and the next was Toronto and Vancouver. The reason is you live in Detroit, you can fly Detroit to Toronto on Air Canada or United. They have a code share. Then you fly Toronto to Amritsar. It's 4 hours drive as well. And your kids can fly directly. I don't see any flight going from Detroit but you can fly
not yet. Just
Toronto to Amritsar.
Not yet. You'll get there.
Yeah, we will get there eventually.
You'll get New York and Detroit and Chicago and LA eventually.
So that's where we are. It's an initiative. We have a Facebook page.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to tell you. Send me any links, your social media contact, however you want people to be able to contact you. Send that to me. I'm going to put that into the description of the video.
Yeah. Okay. We made some slides. It's pretty professional. I've given it to airlines, and a lot of airlines, they said we are ready to start the flight next day. The foreign airlines like Oman Air and all that get us the bilaterals. So, but we are working on everything and just awaiting people. Some people say, "Oh, we don't even know we had a flight." One of the friend. One last thing, I think I also want to talk. You said, we would go to camps. One day I was just there, Ivan. We were chatting, and then one of the child heard me. He said, "Fly Amritsar, what it is? What is Amritsar?" I said, "Do you want to go to Amritsar?" He's like, "Yeah, but my papa takes us Delhi. It takes so long. But we love to go to Harmandir Sahib. I would like to go to every year." And then I'm like, okay, yes, this is what we are trying. And I think there's a lot of support I have gotten. People like you and the blessings and
no, it's amazing work. These are the things. The whole purpose of this podcast is I want to be highlighting people that are doing things that are positive for the Sikh Month, and not everything is going to be that you're protesting somewhere, or it's not going to be everything is going to be that you made some kind of special thing video or something. But some of the things are going to be these things that people don't even realize what the impact is. But somebody has to do that work. Your dad did it for so long, your father did it, and now you've kind of taken up and you said he's still doing it, he's still working. Yeah. Somebody has to. And if somebody you guys didn't, we would have nothing.
And the thing is that it's the blessing, VG, because the kids do symposium speeches and everything. And there was 3-4 years ago, my son, now obviously you can spend that time with the family as well. I'm thanks my family, wife and everybody, they accommodate this because sometimes late night. And there was a question, who is currently a Sikh role model for you? Who's like, there was some questions regarding they have to prepare a speech. Yeah. And my wife told me that I think it was 5-6 years ago that Manit wrote that my dad is something I look into because he is doing this. More people will fly to Amritsar, something like that. He said, "Can I write more people? They will know about Guru Sahib. More people they will know about Harmandir Sahib. More they will know about Sikhs in America." And so that was a very emotional moment for me because
that's what it's all about. It's about the kids, the next generation.
Yes, it's the concept of the seva. So I mean, I'm not trying to say that but that was something I really felt that they are realizing at this young age. Hopefully,
they're paying attention.
They can continue with it, and
they're paying attention just like you did. You did that. You were paying attention to what your father is doing, and it had an impact on you. Now your kids are also. You don't have to say it. We'll say it. We'll say that. And the seva is great, and it's needed.
Yeah, one thing I will tell all. Yes, we have doctors, we have engineers. They contribute because they have money. They donate as well, which is great. Somebody who doesn't have money, if they want, they can donate some time. I mean, we can all make money, but any type of seva, anything we do, a lot of people.
Yeah, we were talking a couple of months ago. I was saying I need some kind of help with my podcast. You said you needed help too. There's people that maybe they have expertise in graphic design or social media or something. If they can volunteer those kinds of services for something like this, it'd be great. It would be very helpful.
Yeah, they are actually. See, that's where another thing in 2019, when 550 years Guru Nanak, we made a campaign to London flights for 1-2 years, 550 years. Government of India give a gift to Punjab, give a gift to Sikhs. There is a flight from Lahore to London starting, Lahore to Toronto starting. So then the Air India came up, and there are a lot of background talks were happening. But then they put Ekankar, okay, we can have differences whether it was a good thing to put on a wing or not. But whatever. I went to Amritsar, flew the first flight. And on that day, there is this child now, he was 16 at that time, Ravreet, who I sent you the...
Yeah.
And he lives close to Darbar Sahib. And he sent some message on our page, and he knows so much about aviation. And his grandfather told me that he will hear the voice when the plane goes over Darbar Sahib. He will just run upstairs.
Go look. Yeah.
And he started making these posters, making these videos for us. And he's now a volunteer for us. Right. He wants to go into aviation business. And that's the next thing I want to do now. Fly Amritsar is not about flights. We want to give a platform to the youth who wants to not just become pilots or ground staff. While I was doing this, I met a lot of airline executives. There are a lot of executives from Kerala, like Suresh, and there were few other people. Pran Dasan is another person who's really helping us, told us a lot about aviation. And I don't know how many people from Punjab are there. If they're there, they should make these efforts. Even the people who are pilots in UK, British Airways, they should try.
Yeah, so the whole initiative can grow, it can expand.
And I think my son ended up writing to about Ravi Singh in that speech, but there are a lot of people who have a lot of influence abroad. Just talk to British Airways, tell them, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ business ਨਹੀਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਲੰਗਰ ਲਾਏ ਨੇ we are doing langar, feeding people everywhere. And you think we can have a flight in Laos? Why can't the rich Sikhs come together? We have a big Gurdwara in South Hall. We can make, which is good thing, but
we have the resources. We can
tell the airline, Air Canada, or somebody asked me, can you guarantee people will go to Amritsar? I couldn't guarantee anything. Let's go to the airline. We guarantee you, we'll pay you for the 6 months tickets. Why can't we flight starts? I was talking to somebody in Canada. People have no idea about aviation, and they start telling me, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little negative here.
No, okay.
India nahi hon dinda. India ne kadi allow nahi karna. I said, has Air Canada ever said that they want to fly to Amritsar? No.
Yeah. The airline has to have the initiative too.
So how do you know?
You already told me 35 to 40% of the flight is for Punjab. So if all those people can see the benefit that I can fly directly, I can save so much time, I can save money, it's safer, and it benefits my own community, then the shift can start to happen, and the flights will be there.
Yes. So that's what the change, Fly Amritsar Initiative. And I think we have a Facebook page, Fly Amritsar Initiative. Join the group. There's Amritsar Airport Connecting the World page as well.
Yeah.
We are on Twitter, Fly Amritsar. It says Fly Amritsar.
Yeah.
And search about it. And
and I'll link everything in.
Yeah.
But Sameep Singh, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I know I've been talking to you for a long time, and I mentioned a while back, but finally I got serious and I said, okay, let me just get him on. I emailed you this morning and you said, yes, I can do it. And I said, great, let's do it today. And I appreciate the fact that you accommodated me and let me record you today. But
thanks to
you. Really
nice
to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks to you and to the entire listeners. If I said anything wrong or something, my apologies in advance. Obviously, when we share things, we can make mistakes when we speak a lot. So my apologies, but thank you, VG. Thank you. All the best to you for the blog, for the podcast, and Net Nihung. I'm all dressed up, and then
no, you look good. Like I said, your bug and your shirt match
perfect. Thank you all,
perfect,
and we hopefully will continue listening to more in future as well about these initiatives and all the. I've heard a lot of them. Like the Swand was a great one. I came to know. I never knew about that, how it started. So these are the initiatives through my young generation here. Everybody, let's continue that. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa,
Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.